Hello everyone, welcome to another video. My name is Marcel and I thought today we'll do another video outside because it's sunny and we'll take advantage of the sunny weather before fall hits. It's already September, can you believe it? Anyways, we'll be talking about the Viltrox 50mm f1.8 right here, which in my opinion is a very good lens. So if you're new here, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already for more videos from me. And if you're already subscribed and you came back, thank you again for being here again. This 50mm Viltrox is not the one that is for APS-C crop sensor lenses, but this is the one for full frame lenses. And in this category, this is the only competitor to the SONY 50mm f1.8. And I'm not talking about the more expensive G Master Sony lens 50mm, but more in the same category as the base model, if you want to call it, or budget version of the 50mm f1.8 from Sony. So let's talk a little bit about the price. This Viltrox lens is $359 and it came out earlier this year, about January 2022. And it is a little bit more expensive than the Sony one. The Sony one is $250, but this Viltrox one has way better build in my opinion, faster and quieter autofocus, and has very strong optical performance. Before we continue again, thank you to Viltrox for sending this lens for me to test out and to play with and to give it my thoughts, but Viltrox is not paying me or has not seen this video before it's being posted. So all the thoughts in this video are completely my own. So let's go into build quality and features from this lens. This is a very compact and very well built lens, but it's not as light as the Sony lens. It has a 55mm filter thread size. It is made of metal, it has really good construction, and it has a nice focus ring and even an aperture ring, which the Sony equivalent doesn't have. Focus is by wire and it's quite smooth. One of the minor drawbacks of this lens is that it is not weather sealed, but it has a weather resistant coating in the front element of the lens. There is also no autofocus and manual focus switch, and the minimum focusing distance is 21.7 inches. It does have though a USB-C port for firmware updates, so you can just plug this directly into your computer to update the firmware on this lens whenever that comes out. Alright, so let's talk about autofocus on this lens. It is very quiet and fast. During my tests and playing around with this lens, I didn't notice it at all, so it's perfect for video work if you're using autofocus. There is a helicopter passing by, I'm not sure if you can hear it. Autofocus was quite good in video mode. It tracked eyes and faces pretty well, and paired with the Sony a7 IV eye and face detection, it was actually very fast to lock focus on myself. So I found that this was pretty good, very fast and accurate autofocus. Very impressed by the autofocus performance on this lens. If this is any indication for future lenses from Viltrox, especially for full frame cameras, this is a good path that we're on for Viltrox at least. So in terms of sharpness, at f1.8 wide open, I found that the images that came out of this lens were actually very sharp. The corners were not as sharp, but were still very sharp in my opinion compared to other lenses when wide open. And at narrower apertures, the corners start to get more sharp as well. For example, at f2.8, f4, and f8. That being said though, even wide open, this lens is very sharp all throughout, so pretty impressive. In terms of bokeh, the bokeh was at times not as pleasant, especially if we had a lot of lights in the background. There's some onion bokeh balls that you see in the background, which isn't too pleasant, but overall blurred backgrounds and other scenarios when you don't have as much light was actually pretty nice and pleasant. So just something to keep in mind. In terms of fringing and chromatic aberration, there is some on this lens. It's quite apparent in certain instances, but only if you're pixel peeping. So in most instances when looking at the image as a whole, that isn't too apparent, so it didn't bother me at all. It was only apparent when I zoomed in quite a lot into the image. In terms of distortion, there wasn't much distortion. It wasn't apparent to me at all. In terms of vignetting though, there is some vignetting, and you can really see it on this photo at f1.8 that there is some vignetting in it. But for myself, that didn't bother me. You can easily correct that in post and Lightroom or Photoshop. And overall, having a little bit of vignetting isn't all too bad depending on your shoot scenario or your use case scenario. It was getting a little noisy out there because I was right by the tennis courts and there's some people who are there. I'm just gonna move to a quieter space, and there's people mowing their lawn over there if you can hear it. but the pros and cons of filming outside. Okay, so this looks like a nice spot. I brought my little chair so I can sit and not sit on the grass. All right, so let's continue. I don't think I can avoid that lawn mowing, so hopefully I can reduce that noise in post, but if I can't too much, hopefully you can still hear me. So there is some flaring on this lens, but in my opinion, it wasn't too distracting, so that lawn mowing just stopped, which is perfect. Let's try to finish this video before they finish taking their break. So final thoughts. This Viltrox lens is not just a nifty 50, it is a very good quality, very well built 50mm lens. It does not feel plasticky at all, it does not feel cheap at all, and the price kind of reflects that, as it's more expensive than the Sony f1.8 50mm equivalent. It has a lot of good features, is very well built, but it lacks weather sealing. It is a very good alternative in my opinion to the outdated Sony 50mm f1.8, which came out about 2016, which is about 5-6 years old now. And at this price point, this is a very good alternative if you want better autofocus performance and sharper images than the Sony 50mm equivalent, unless you have the money to shell out for the Sony G Master or the Sigma Art lens. So that sound came back on again, but we'll try to wrap this up soon. There's something else going on, I'm not sure what they're doing now. The other two alternatives in this price range for full frame cameras and the similar focal length are the Yongnuo 50mm f1.8 that came out about December of 2021, and I have a review about that lens. You can check it out in the description below or maybe in the cards up here. And there's also a Samyang 45mm, which isn't quite 50mm, but it's in a similar price category as this lens. But if you're looking for a 50mm, the Samyang 45 might not be exactly what you're looking for, by just mentioning it, so you have that option. You can consider that one as well. So anyways, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this review and that it helped you to figure out if this lens is for you. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you like this video and you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. That is very helpful and is greatly appreciated. And I think that's it. I'll see you in the next video.